Pope Francis' visit to the borderland approaches, students here at the Newman Center have gathered together to take part on this historical event. It has been one of the most historical and important days in the Catholic community as Pope Francis has entered Ciudad Juárez. Estamos a tan solo minutos de que el Papa Francisco oficie la Sagrada Misa en Ciudad Juárez. The singing at the Catholic Campus Ministry has taken on an air of excitement because the Pope is coming. Students and staff have been anticipating and planning for this day since the confirmation for his visit. The visit to Juárez is something special for every Catholic in the borderland, but for these students it's extra special because they will be traveling to the Sun Bowl where the Pope's Mass in Juárez will be showed through a huge video screen.
It's just awesome that he's going to be out here. This is the first time a Pope's been out here in a long time, and it's really going to be good for him to be out here and to see what daily life is on the borderland and just really see all the good things, the bad things, just see everything about the borderland, and it's just awesome that he comes out here.
Pope Francis traveled to the United States last September, but this will be the first time to visit Mexico. He arrived in Mexico City on Friday, and his last stop is in Ciudad Juárez. As Pope Francis' visit to the borderland approaches, students here at the Newman Center have gathered together to take part on this historical event. And for seminarian Frankie Rios, the Pope's visit is something he will cherish for years to come. He will be in Juárez on Wednesday to be at the Mass in person.
Accepting, that although it's Pope Francis and he's well known, that it's a Mass that's very special, but in the same way we get to celebrate the Mass every day. So just kind of to humble myself that although it's Pope Francis, it's that daily Mass, that Holy Mass can be served everywhere and anywhere. So I just think it's kind of just humbling and just understanding that Pope Francis is a priest just like any other priest in your hometown.
So while some from the Newman Center will watch on a big screen and some will be at the Mass in person, each person says it's a spiritual and historic event they will never forget. TANNYA BARBA, News 22. One of the most memorable pictures of Pope Francis' trip to the border was when he stepped at the frame of the U.S.-Mexico border, where he prayed for migrants and laid flowers at 3 crosses next to tennis shoes to represent immigrants who have died on their journey.
Save them from this violence.
Professor Íñigo Garcia Bryce says it was monumental for the border and border politics.
He spoke very directly about migrants. That's one of the big issues that we have on the border is the issue of migration. It's such a huge debate right now, what to do about migration. In the midst of the U.S. political debate, we have people that want to round up migrants and send them back. We're talking about building walls.
Bryce talked about this on a lecture on Thursday to a packed house at the Nason House on campus. While the Pope's visit had political ramification, for most, it was a spiritual moment.
To hear the Pope's Mass, it's going to be very spiritual. I mean, it has been. The whole day has been an experience.
And it's something those who attended will never forget. TANNYA BARBA, News 22. The feet of about 30 people crunch over the ground as they approach the lake bed. Lake Lucero is a playa, a beach without the water, contained within the White Sands National Monument and a few miles from the famous sand dunes. Anyone who's been here knows it's not silica sand that you'd find at the beach. It's gypsum sand, soft crystals that are deposited by water and wind.
It's very interesting to see. You can actually see the process of how crystals went from being really big and massive all the way down to a very small granular level as you go deeper in.
Brought some crystals to show you. You're going to see these here in a few minutes, though.
10,000 years ago, it was found in the bottom of an ancient lake. Years later, the lake dried out and left what are now gypsum crystals. There's also science here, geology that to a 7th grader opens a world of imagination.
That if you were to chip off some of the crystals, they can get really, really thin, and that if you point at the sun, it makes a little glare, and you can make almost like a magnifying glass out of it. It's really interesting.
The gypsum crystals covered the ground, and after rains, there are frequently more crystals to see. And in the distance, you can see where they go, to add to the white sands. TANNYA BARBA, News 22. Las noticias, el equipo de béisbol estatal ha empezado la temporada de 2016 con el pie derecho. No solamente pudieron ganar victoria en la primera serie aquí en casa, pero también empezaron la temporada con un nuevo look. Presley Askew agregó césped sintético. Las nuevas renovaciones vienen gracias a una donación por el grupo Booster Club de NMSU. Los Aggies dominaron el campo contra los Tigres de Towson el pasado fin de semana. Los Aggies ganaron el primer juego con el marcador final de 17-3. El jugador Daniel Johnson ayudó a los Aggies en una explosión ofensiva contra Towson. Johnson abrió el camino para los Aggies en una jugada de 3-3, lo cual incluyó 2 home runs y 5 RBIs. El equipo estatal abrirá sus puertas este fin de semana para la serie contra Maine. Los dos equipos se enfrentarán hoy a las 6 de la tarde, seguido por 2 juegos mañana, empezando a las 2 de la tarde y terminando la serie